ways in which the PK4 TimeTracker can help you track your time, both within Salesforce and on a web app. And we talk through some of the reports and how everything fits together. So this is one of the dashboards that we have within the time tracker. And there are different things that we can do here. And I'm going to start with the web app because that is something we discussed before. So if you look at this, the web app is actually currently integrated in with an Azure, Microsoft Azure AD single sign-on. So we do have the single sign-on available. So we could do that with other single sign-on products as well. So once you've signed in, this is what you would see as a user. So it gives you a set of projects and tasks that you can track time to, and this is actually configurable. And once you do that, then it has dates across the top. Again, the number of days that you see here is configurable. So whether you want a week or 10 days or 15 days or a whole month, you can have that across the top here. And people can just choose their projects and times and start putting in the times that they spent on various different projects. So I could go in and I say I spent 7 hours on Monday, 4 hours on Tuesday, on the second, 5 hours on the third, perhaps, and so on. I can go across the board and then I can choose a different project and task, and then I can say how much time I spent on some other days on it. And all of this together, I can submit. And all of this data goes directly into Salesforce. So what that means is while this is a web app, which is single sign-on and therefore very secure, the data that comes from this app actually goes into Salesforce, and therefore all of your reporting, analysis, integration with other apps happens inside Salesforce. If you wanted your users to be able to put in some attachments, and this is something some of our customers need, they can click on this attachments button here and they'll be able to add any attachments from the system that they're working on. So that's possible as well. And all of this data, like I said, goes directly into Salesforce. So from this point on, I'm going to move to Salesforce and show you what happens in there. So this is, like I said, the dashboard. And if we look at all of the data that comes in from whatever system people are tracking their time, it all comes into one single repository in Salesforce. And if you look at this on the left, it will generally show you how this time was recorded. For example, Aaron's time came in from the web, whereas Julia's time is all recorded within Salesforce. So you see that in here, but all of it appears in a single repository so that it becomes very easy for reporting, for analysis, and for all of those things that you want to do. So a couple of the things that I wanted to show you in terms of what happens on projects. Let's go to a project and I'm going to pick one here. So if I pick this project, what you'll see is that you can have a planned hours on the project, and then all of this, the time that people have spent on this project, however they may have entered it, whether it's on the web app or whether it's within Salesforce, all gets logged or summarized into this actual hours logged field. And then there's a net available hours, which shows you how many hours are still available on the project. There's also an approval mechanism that's available within the PK4 TimeTracker. And if you use that, then it also shows you how many of these 81.78 hours have been approved by a manager. So if you don't use the approval mechanism, then these are the only things that you will be concerned with. So this is like a summary of all the time that has been spent and logged by various people onto this particular project. Now, if you go to the reporting mechanism, and I'll show you a couple of different reports here, here you'll be able to look at all of the time that was spent for a given month. In this case, it's for the last month. And if you take this particular any project, you'll see the time that was spent across the various days of last month on this project. So this is a summary report. There's another summary report that tells you by project who were the people who worked on it and how many hours they spent. So if you, some of these projects have multiple people that have worked on it, so you'll see multiple names and the amount of hours that they've spent on it. You will also get um, reports that are in a level of detail here. So again, it is a project, the people that worked on it, and all of the times that they spent on that project. So like you can see here, there are various levels of detail and summarization that you can get. These are all standard Salesforce reports, and so you can get these reports in whatever level of detail you'd like to see it at. And all of these time details can actually go directly into generated invoices. Now, all these, the generation frequency can be set. So if you, for example, invoice your customers at, let's say, 15-day intervals or 1 month intervals, you can set up that frequency to run a workflow that generates the invoices. And once that's done, you'll see a list of all of these invoices. They don't get sent out automatically, but they're generated automatically. You can then go in and look at the detail of what's on that invoice. It shows you all the details. And if you look at this, you also see a complete invoice here. So this is what an invoice would look like. So this is how the time that people have spent can get pulled into an automatic, and then those invoices can get sent out after somebody has reviewed them. You can send this, you can use this send invoice email. So you click on an email invoice here, you click the send invoice email, and then it'll get sent out to whoever is the invoice contact on your account record. So that's sort of the full process, from somebody putting in their time to it going into whatever projects and tasks that they have worked on, to it getting pulled into an invoice at the end of a specific time frame. So that's sort of one process. There are other ways of recording time, and I just quickly want to show you some of those. So this is a list of my accounts, and if I click on any of these accounts, you'll see that there is something called a live tracker that shows up here. This is a Lightning component that is part of the PK4 TimeTracker. And when somebody wants to start tracking time to this particular account because they're working on it, they can, if they want, choose a particular project and a task. And once they do that, they can click on the start button, and that's when it starts tracking time to this particular account and project and task. So when the user is done with that, they can click on stop and it stops tracking time at that point. Again, all of the data gets updated to this central repository of all information. Similarly, on the opportunities, we have a slightly different kind of a lighting of a component. And this is what we call a manual entry component. And this is for when you want to track time after something has been done. So let's say you've gone out to a meeting and you want to record that. You can again select a project and task, and then you can come in and say, hey, I spent 30 minutes on this particular project, and you can select this. So this is a second kind of way that you can track your time. And the third way is what I will show you on my case object. And what happens here is that as soon as I open the case, it automatically starts tracking time. So this is a third way of tracking time. And this is usually meant for groups that have a lot of things going on. For example, if you think of a call center or a customer support center where lots of calls are coming in, and you don't want people to have to futz around with starting and stopping things, this is a great way to be able to track their time, because as soon as they open a customer record or a customer case, it automatically starts recording time, and it keeps recording until you move out of that case. So this is a third way of tracking time. So other than, within Salesforce also, we have very similar to what I showed you on the web app. There is a way to put time across multiple days. You choose a project and task, and then you just say, I spent 3 hours on this on this date, 5 hours on this date, and then you submit it all together. So, like I said, these are multiple ways in which you can submit your time. And once you submit, if you use the approval mechanism, which we do in this particular org, what happens is that you will see an email that comes in. There are multiple ways in which time can be approved, and email is one of them. So if somebody is set up as a reporting manager, then that manager will get a mail that looks like this with the details of all the times that, in this case, Bill has put in. And I can look at those times, and if it looks okay, I can approve this by using any of these keywords that are here, right? Also, if somebody is, like I showed you, if someone's put in some attachments, then those attachments show up as well so that the manager can look at those attachments, make sure that everything looks okay, and then approve this by replying to this email with the word approved or fine or okay or any of these keywords. So that takes care of the approval mechanism as well. And there is also an approval mechanism that works within Salesforce. So the email mechanism is very good when you have managers that are working outside of your organization and therefore don't have access to your Salesforce instance. The email mechanism is a great way to approve time. If you have people that are within your organization, then they can always approve time within Salesforce. So the great advantage of this is that everything is very secure, starting from the single sign-on mechanism, which currently is with Microsoft Azure AD, but can be done with anything else. So starting from there, and even though you're entering your time on a web app, that data flows through directly into Salesforce. So there's no data floating around on people's laptops. And then because everything is in Salesforce, you get that flexibility and the ease of reporting and analysis with everything being inside Salesforce. These reports can be modified, changed, added, and you get everything that you're looking for in terms of analysis. So that's a brief look at the time tracker, and hopefully this gives you a good understanding of all of the pieces and how they can work together. If you have questions, please feel free to get back in touch with us. I'll be happy to help with anything that you have questions with.